And now here you are back on Monday Night Raw, December 1st, 2003. You're going to fire Test, Scott Steiner, and La Resistance. Of course, you're firing heels. The show ends with you putting Mr. Sacco down Eric Bischoff's throat, and maybe there's a little personal satisfaction on that.
I think there was.
The next week on Raw, The Rock returns in Anaheim to save you from the 2-on-1 beatdown from La Resistance.
Wow, I don't remember that.
You thought maybe just outside of Atlanta.
I thought the only time The Rock came back was to set up the Mania match, and I thought it was outside Georgia. I don't remember him coming back against La Resistance.
When do you know that The Rock is officially figured in? Is it? I know you told us about the phone call from Brian, but that doesn't happen in the initial sit down with you, Vince, and JR.
No, because I would have thought that's too ludicrous to propose. The Rock's going to come back to be my partner in Mania. That doesn't sound like something I thought would be feasible on the table. So once we knew Rock was coming back, we began setting that table by putting me through, might be jumping ahead here, but when it gets to me actually being on the show, being on Raw regularly, I start taking a pretty serious beating every time I go out there. You know, I'm being put through a table, power bombed by Batista, getting slapped in the face where it has to look good by Randy. You know, I was taking my lumps. I know I'm forwarding ahead to the showdown for the singles match, but you know, when I pulled him aside, I think we were in California. I think we were in Bakersfield. And I went up to Randy and I said, hey, sometimes in this business you make your own breaks. He goes, what do you mean? I said, I want you to go out there. I want you to open up this eyebrow. I give him a quick tutorial, thinking he's got it in his DNA like the Fullers did or the Funks did. And then Randy, you know, basically they're not a drop of blood. It's not the downward thing, but he puts a bunch of swelling up under my eye, which doesn't necessarily look that great on camera. It's disturbing because, I mean, I was going out, you know, I'm getting hit, and eventually I think power bombed, and not a drop of blood. But within about 3 days now, all that internal bleeding starts sinking down and gives me the worst black eye I've ever had. And I've had some pretty good ones. So I say that this needs to be documented, and I asked to come into Stamford to be interviewed, and I am interviewed by Jonathan Coachman. And I'm surprised when Brian Gewirtz calls me and says, Vince wants you to come back and do the interview over. He said it's the worst work of your career. The interview I did with Coachman. So I joked and said, hey, if he'd said it was the worst work of Coachman's career, that would really be saying something, right? Yeah. So Coach was more caught up in being in a heel persona. He wasn't
playing the straight man enough.
It wasn't doing anything for the angle. So they flew Jim Ross in to interview me, and that made a big difference. But that's one of those things where, you know, on paper, the idea of bringing somebody back, another 3-hour round trip, another 2 hours in the bill, that's a lot, you know, a lot of extra work. We've already got something in the can. Surely you could edit it. But he felt strongly like it was bad, that it was going to hurt the angle, and asked if I would do it over again. And I did it gladly.
So how excited are you to see Dwayne, you know, when he makes his return? I'm sure you get to spend some time with him before you get going.
Yeah.
You know, this is a weird thing to say, but he's gone on to become the biggest star in the world.
Right.
And maybe he wasn't quite at that point, but you could tell.
He'd done the game plan. You know, game plan, I think, was his biggest one at that time. He was clearly an A-lister and, you know, soon to be the biggest star in the world.
What had changed from Dewey, who you met back in the day, to now he really is a big star.
Right. And so to have him on my side, kind of like being my knight in shining armor, it was really cool. It was really cool. We were afraid that people would know he was going to be there, so I think Evolution even alluded to it. Where's Mr. Hollywood? And I was like, I think the way we did it is like they're bullying me, right? There's three of them. Why don't you go out there and make a phone call to your friend in Hollywood? And then I go, okay, I'm going to do that. And I almost over-exaggerate it. Like, I'm going to go run up there, use the payphone. And I turn around and I said, better than me calling him, why don't I introduce you to him now? And here comes Dwayne Johnson running down the ramp. And I think, Conrad, I think he was so busy kicking butt that he forgot to take names that day. That's how fully caught up in kicking butt he was that day.